Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, amidst a time of harvest and abundance, I want to talk to you about how you can still wear all the hats and achieve balance in your life. Hi, my name's Corinne, and here at Spirea, I share videos that weave together plant wisdom, holistic health, self-sufficiency with just a dash of magic. If this sounds interesting to you, I'd love for you to stick around. So I recently had a friend come to me asking how I was able to balance all the different things that I do in my life. And as I was responding and sharing some of the things I've learned, I realized that this would actually make a really good video. And while she came to me with the specific goal of wanting to be able to homeschool while still homestead, grow food, preserve food, have a business, maybe bring in some income, all the things that I have in my life, I found that a lot of the advice, I think, was generally applicable for all of us who are achieving more self-sufficiency, more sovereignty in our life, and really wanting to kind of stand firm on our own 2 feet and not be overwhelmed by all the things, because no longer do we have the luxury of living in communities where maybe it was okay if you were the carpenter in the community because there was someone else who grew the food, tended to the livestock, and did all of those other things. Many of us feel we have to kind of do it all. And I wanted, like I said, I really enjoyed the conversation I had with my friend, and it couldn't come at a better time. And I'll try not to make you too sick, but I literally have boxes and baskets of food on the ground. But I'm still running my monthly membership platform. I'm still homeschooling. I'm still trying to create content on YouTube, still seeing clients. So, life doesn't stop when these busy seasons come. And I hope that some of the words that I share with you today will provide you with some guidance, some insight, and maybe just some assurances that you may have it put together more than you think you do. So piece of advice number 1, as the aforementioned slide said, be okay with still figuring it out. We are 2.5 years into our homeschooling journey. We are about 7 years into our homesteading journey. And I'm 10 years in, at least, to running my own business and being a clinical practitioner. And I'm still figuring it out. And I think the biggest piece of advice I can have is have that space and grace for yourself to not have all the answers right away, to not have everything at your fingertips, to stumble and fall a little bit, to have some good days and some bad days, and some times when you thought this was really for sure what was right for my family, and maybe it turned out that it wasn't. So if the biggest piece that you can take home from this little video today is that be okay with where you're at, and be okay with, like I said, still needing to figure it out, I think you'll really benefit from that piece of knowing that you might always be figuring it out. All right, admittedly, this was the hardest one for me. So if anyone works with flower essences, you'll know that there are actually some core essences that make up kind of like our personality and who we are. And I am a pine from the Bach flower remedies through and through. Perfectionism is a difficult one for me. And when you wear as many hats as I do and you do as many things that I do, it's impossible to be, quote, perfect all the time. So the first thing I want you to do is redefine what actually is possible in your life and what's necessary. What are the things that you're okay with letting go, hiring out for? Too often, and I see these memes all the time, like coffee during the day, wine on the weekend, in order to be able to get through our lives. And we wear this martyr hat like a badge of honor. And adrenal fatigue, being burnt out. These are things that are almost accolades in our life. And these are things we should really be avoiding, especially having the knowledge I know of how the world, like our adrenals work and how our body systems work. And so having realistic expectations and standards and knowing areas that you're okay to let slide a little bit is really, really important. You know, do you actually have to put up all the food that you grow? Like, do you? Or are you okay to not grow everything yourself and outsource some of your crops to other farmers because that's easier? Are you okay with doing freezer jam this year because you just don't want a can? Are you okay with vacuum sealing your beans because the idea of pressure canning them is too much? You know, are you okay with having a lax, take it easy day in homeschool, right? Where are there areas that you're okay to let slide a little, and areas that maybe aren't as necessary as you think they are? And this takes some radical honesty and radical accountability in terms of your own tendencies and habits. Do you tend to be a martyr? Do you tend to be a perfectionist? These things are often our own self-sabotaging behaviors, ways that we keep ourselves from being able to do everything that we want to be able to do because of the programs we've told ourselves. So redefine what's necessary and what isn't, and work on that perfectionism. All right, number 3, firm boundaries. These are absolutely necessary. I don't care if you're into herbalism, spirituality, homeschooling, homesteading. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you go out and you have a 9-to-5 job outside of your home. You need to have boundaries. And so for me, my biggest boundary is being fully present in what I'm doing in that particular moment. So when it is homeschool time, I'm on homeschool mom mode. And I'm not scrolling through, Facebook or trying to multitask and do other things. Now, I will say if kiddo's working on an independent task, say like math, that's a great time for me to edit a YouTube video, because if he needs me for a question, I can pause, help him, and I'm not engrossed in something that, say, takes all of my attention away. So when it's school hours, it's school hours. Those are my boundaries. But when it's work hours, when it's time for mom to see clients in clinic, when it's time for me to get my handouts ready for my students for my monthly membership platform, I set those boundaries. And I say, these are the times that I can't be disturbed. So I'm going to be fully present no matter where I am in my day and what I'm moving through. And I'm also going to set boundaries like, I don't work on weekends. Except, caveat, right? When winter shows start coming up, or if I go to a farmer's market or I teach a class, that's fine. But I also shut my phone off at 8 o'clock at night. And it doesn't matter if YouTube comments come through or emails come through, I will check it in the morning. So setting firm boundaries can really help you to navigate all the different tasks you have to do, and having dedicated time where you do them. This is when I do my work hours, and this is when I do my homeschool hours. That has really helped me a lot. All right, number 4, I have talked about this. I actually have an entire video dedicated to this. I'm going to make sure I put a link, because this has helped so much. Meal planning and meal prep. Because there's nothing that makes you feel more stressed out than you've got an entire house full of hungry people. It's 5:30, 6 o'clock, and you've got nothing planned for food. You've got nothing taken out of the freezer. And you're just like, what are we going to do to nourish our bodies? And this is often when we start making decisions that potentially are detrimental to our health. And then what do? We beat ourselves up, right? So complicated meals. I do those when my partner's home. So when my husband's home, this is when we're going to make that really intricate kimchi meal I saw on Pinterest, or, slow roast something on the barbecue or whatever, right? When I have a extra set of hands to help me in the kitchen, this is when our more complicated meals will be. Meal planning keeps me absolutely organized. I know what needs to be taken out of the freezer, and I will schedule our meals accordingly. As an example, I'm actually taking a course starting tomorrow, Tuesday, and my classes will be live at 6 o'clock. And so I said to my husband, I'm like, okay, those nights are going to be easy meals. That's going to be like our pasta meal or soup out of the freezer. I am a big fan of freezer meals. I have a video on that as well. You know, meal planning and freezer meals, it sounds so simple, but it's one of those things where you're like, why didn't I do this sooner? It makes my life so much easier because I often have to oscillate between all of these tasks. And again, one of those firm boundaries, when it's time for me to start making food, then the work hours are over, I'm in the kitchen, and I'm focusing on making nutritious, healthy food for my family. All right, number five. Number five is kind of an offshoot from the boundaries one, but it's something I really wanted to touch base on because we live in a world where we're constantly distracted by the external. Facebook, Instagram, here you are on YouTube, right? Maybe you're scrolling through your Telegram feed or checking out what's on Rumble, you know? And when it's work hours for me, my phone is off, the Facebook tab is closed, the Instagram tab is closed, and so is the email tab. And you know what I have discovered? I can get a crap ton of work done in 1 to 2 hours if I'm actually focused and dedicated to what I'm doing. How much time, do we waste scrolling through Facebook when we should actually be working? And so, as it turns out, my 5 or 6 hour work days can actually be compressed into 1 to 2 hours of like really solid, focused, dedicated, distraction-free time. Maybe I'll open up YouTube and I'll put on that, Hertz frequency focus music. That's about it. That's as far as I go. I'm not, I don't have a tab open where I've got my shopping cart for Costco or my next bulk food order. Forget it. I close all that down and I dedicate myself to what I'm doing, and holy moly, am I way more productive for it. All right, and the last one is most definitely homeschool specific. So if you don't homeschool, you may not find this one relevant, but it was a piece of information I wanted to share with her because it's really relevant. And I know it's relevant because I have a public school teacher for a husband. And so I know that as homeschoolers, we go through the curriculum way faster than he does at school. And that's because so much of his job is classroom management. As of right now, he's got 29 kids in his class. And so if he's helping answer questions, or if there's a fight breaking out in this corner or drama breaking out in that corner, how much of his day is actually dedicated to, like I said, just managing the classroom and managing the kids that are in it? So you are going to go through that curriculum way faster than you think you will. So if that means you need to take a day off to can your tomatoes, you need to take a day off to harvest your sweet potatoes, you have to take a day off because you've scheduled too many meetings and you want to be able to work from home so you can homeschool or homestead, do it. You'll get caught up. And so this was something that I really wanted to share. And if you do get behind in homeschool, there's a really beautiful saying, there's always next year. All right, and my last one is use tools that will make your life easier, but not more cluttered. So I actually have a video on bullet journaling, and I used to be a big fan of bullet journaling as a way of keeping my life organized. I actually found it just made my life busier, and it didn't fill my needs. And so for me, switching to a digital calendar, Google Calendar, and using something called Google Keep, which is like my little paper to-do list that I have floating around my house that go missing. And, it's all centralized in one location. And now that I have Google Calendar, I can keep track of my homeschool schedule and the homeschool gatherings. I can keep track of homesteading tasks I have to do. I can schedule in my clients. So it has been a saving grace for me to allow me to simplify my life. And so while I'm definitely old school in many ways, like I like to have my hands in the dirt and I garden and I make medicines from what most people call weeds, I'm not afraid to use the tools and technology when needed to keep my life simpler. All right, super fast recap. All right, number 1, be okay with still figuring it out. Number 2, work on that perfectionism. Like, trust me, you will save yourself a lot of heartache if you realize that you don't have to be perfect at everything. Number 3, set firm boundaries. Make sure that when you're present in the tasks that you're doing, be present, right? And set those boundaries. If you need weekends off, take them. If you want evenings off, take them. If you want to sleep in until 10 because you work best at midnight, do it. Have those firm boundaries. Number 4, meal planning and meal prep saves me time and energy and money every single time. I have never regretted prepping food ahead of time and planning meals ahead of time. It has always made my life easier. Number 5, when you have work hours, work distraction free. Shut off your phone. Keep those tabs clean on your web browser. Make sure you're not multitasking and shopping on Etsy at the same time you're supposed to be doing something else. I promise you, you will get twice as much work done in half the time. 6, homeschooling schedules are completely different. So stop trying to meet the expectations of public school because you're never going to. There's a reason why you homeschooled in the first place. And 7, I'm adding a last one here that I will put in, use tools. Google Calendar, Google Keep. I'm not an affiliate. I'm not making any money from those things. But golly, am I so much more organized now. I was really resistant to things like Google Calendar because I was a bullet journal girl. I've got a video on that. But the color coding, the reminders I get on my phone have been so helpful. And Google Keep is like a digital version of my little checklists and to-do lists, except now they're not on my fridge and floating all over my house where I can't find them. So if you have any suggestions on how you maintain balance on a busy homestead, maybe you're self-employed, maybe you homeschool like I do, please leave your tips below, share them with the community. And until next time, this is Corinne from Spirea Herbs, wishing you health and wellness.